I've been inspired to go and talk about some things that have happened to me in my past here. Well, first, here's Miss Leslie, my old girl. I think she is like, she asked to come in from outside. It's too cold for her, and she says, I'm too old. I want to sleep beside you, Mom. So she's been hanging out with me for the past few days. I think born in 06, 07 she was, but she's my old girl. Say hi to everyone, Leslie. She's kind of a grumpy old hag most of the time because she was spayed and the others don't know if she's a girl or a boy or what's up with her. So they give her a hard time. But she's getting too old. She says, Ayana, I'm in now, peace. Okay, so I want to talk about some things from the past. Inspired by maybe Miss Leslie too. But okay, so at a time when I lived in the city, back in the 90s, going into I want to start talking about some weird things that were there, okay? So, I'd have lots of people come and go from my place and hang out, and I had a car accident and in 94, and it gave me a hairline fracture in my spine, which I needed a surgery for to correct the issue where I'd be in a wheelchair, they said, by the time, 10 years would go by. And this was in September 4th of 1994 that the accident happened. And then the doctors and all that, they were constantly telling me, because first they did a CAT scan, but MRIs back then weren't as common as they are now. So they didn't find anything on the CAT scan, so they decided, well, it's a psychological issue, obviously. This pain in her spine has to be psychological because they couldn't detect that there was a hairline fracture in the lower part of my spine. And this went on from 94 to 95, 96, 97, 98. It was either May 5th, 98 or May 5th, 99. I think it was 99. That they finally detected, because I went and saw an acupuncturist and I saw all sorts of different people, reflexologists, different things for different opinions and such. And anyways, this Chinese acupuncturist once told me, broken in there. And he's pointing at the back part and he just kept saying broken in there. So I had him write that up and I took it back to the doctors I was dealing with at the time, and then they decided, well, maybe we should do an MRI after being psychologically fucked in the head for how many years, because they claim, oh, it's a mental thing. It's not actually pain in your spine. Yet I'd be walking across the street and just bam, collapse. One leg would go up, and later they found it was because the hairline fracture caused pinched nerves, and then it would make my body contort and do all weird things, the leg go straight up, but yet I can't move, and ambulance has to come take me to the hospital and shit like this, repeated over and over and over. So they tried to say, oh yeah, psychological, and then when they found out that it wasn't psychological, of course you don't hear any apologies, you just, but they told me that they would be doing a 4-hour surgery and that they'd be putting 1 metal rod and 2 screws and then possibly taking some of my bone to use as a paste around that area. So, okay, fine. But I later found out that it was actually a 9-hour and something surgery when I have 3 metal rods that look like an H and 4 screws and bone chiseled out to put from the hip into the missing pieces, whatever, they did that. And so it took quite some time. I had to have a walker, wheelchair, all this kind of shit for a while till I could adjust and heal. And by the time I healed, of course, any kind of career would have been all focused on no career for you at this point, because it's either you know, the suffering and the pain and the bullshit that I had to go through for those years took a lot out of my life, really, because of that. And okay, so I want to move on to some of the weird shit. When it was, I think, September 4th, 94, so going back to the accident, but then in 95, going into spring of 96, I was living in this one place that was right across the street from a doctor's office. And it was like I'd pick up, I didn't know what the hell it was, but it was like I was picking up frequencies from the office, because that doctor would be there at like all hours of the night doing paperwork and shit too. You'd see the light on and stuff. Because when I opened my front door, that happens to be a doctor's office right across the street at the time. So, when you're outside having a cigarette or something, and you notice that the doctor's light is on, and it's 3:30 in the morning. But the weird thing is that I was starting to pick up, I now know as voice to skull kind of bullshit messages coming from that office to me. And of course, because they already were telling me at this time that the pain in my back is in my fucking brain, and the pain in all that. And then I tried to go talk to this doctor about these things. And of course, they want to give you some kind of psychological bullshit medication, which only intensifies it more. So I threw all that shit down the toilet in 1996, and then was like really freaking out because everything, I was awakened, but everything was coming to me too fast. I could hear everything going on around me, from the doctor's office to what was happening over there, to this, to that, to this person thinking, and it was just like so overwhelming that I thought, okay, am I losing my mind? Like, what the hell's going on? Especially with this back thing, too, that are trying to tell me it was in my fucking brain. But I knew in my heart, no, it's not in my brain. You guys are just fucking retarded. So I was retaliating at this time, too. And at the system, at the whole idea that I wasn't being believed, and that they want to tell me that this pain is in my frickin' brain, when I know clearly it is not in my brain. But then, how many years later they go and fix it. So, well, I guess it wasn't in your brain. Well, I knew that then. But this voice to skull shit back in 95 going into 96 started, like I said, with the doctor across the street, and then I could hear everything picking up. So what I decided to do was, I maybe should go check myself into the psychiatric center. It's 1996. I'm all tripped out. I don't know what the hell's going on. Computers weren't a big thing back then. So, to learn anything, you'd have to be a bookworm or a library person, or, and even then you choose your books. It's like, I at once married a librarian. So, they don't necessarily know everything that's in the library. They just work there, So, anyways, going to 96 and all that voice to skull shit going on, it's unreal looking back and thinking, you fucking bastards, Because from 96, I went and checked myself in, because I thought I was losing my marbles. I didn't know. I just thought, this is like too much. I always had the psychic abilities, but this was beyond. This was like the synthetic stuff coming in. And this goes back to 1996. Not just a couple of years ago. So then when the gang stalking kicked in, like when I was more aware, I was trying to put my psychic stuff that I know in my heart is really happened, and the synthetic shit, it's like I've always been putting the synthetic shit in one pile and my real stuff in another pile. And sometimes it gets so distorted that you're just like, and that's where I was in 96. I was just so distorted and freaked right out that I went to the nut ward for a little while thinking, maybe they can help. They don't help shit. I had a nurse come into my room because all I wanted to do was sleep and rest and try and get my mind. I was living in a nearby, like in an area that was highly trafficked. The doctor, kind of a biker doctor, so that kind of atmosphere around me. So I just wanted to sleep and relax and try and get my brain back. And I had this nurse, it was a male nurse, and it would bring snacks around at night, but then it was showing up in the morning because I was there for a couple of weeks. And when he started coming into my room to waken me, I ran and freaked the fuck out. I says, you can't just come running or coming into the patient's room. I caught you in here before, because sometimes they give you sleeping pills and stuff too, right? So what the fuck goes on there? But this clown guy comes in, kind of an overweight guy. I think white. I kind of faded that out, but I remember I was chasing him out of my room and all the way down the hall, and then I lost him. So things like that come to my brain. That's a little bit like, yeah, how convenient. Little things like that over my whole life, but these are just, I'm trying to stay on track with like voice to skull kind of crap going on and shit, you know. There's lots of stories that can surface, but I'm gonna go back and start there. And then, okay, let's move along. I moved out of that house. My folks at the time, they helped me get a place kind of away from that area, but still in the general area. It was in not a bad area and everything. It was quite a nice area. It's actually overrun now by hookers and stuff, because this was back in 97, I think, or 98, when I got to move into, you know, the house. It's my house. I'm going to pay my folks rent to live here, and, you know, just real happy. Times were good back then. And so I move in, and strange shit starts happening there too, because I knew like a lot of people who, actually I married the man, and he knew a lot of like my boy's dad. He knew a lot of musicians and stuff. So what they did is they often had one place where it was the jam house, you know, and go over there, and that's where everybody'd go to get together and jam out some tunes that they enjoyed. And when that was happening, I would always do my art. So they do their jam shit, and it was just like rock and roll, yeah, you know, and I'm like painting over my corner, and this was like how we kind of ran things. But at one time, he had to go for schooling, and we had to separate, and I got this house, and he did his own thing, and then a few years later, we got back together and had my boy and stuff like this. But at the time, we were separated, and I was living at this house that my folks got me and stuff, and so a lot of the people that hang out with us over there would just come out over to my new house, right? And not necessarily jam and stuff, but sometimes they bring their guitars and whatever, but not too much of that. More just to hang out and check up on me and make sure I'm okay, and, you know, especially with this back issue and kind of the weird shit that was happening to Shar, you know, let's go check up on her and have a coffee with her, or bring me a coffee, or they'd bring a pizza over or something, you know. And they just come check up on me and stuff. So I had a good network of people that, when I lived there, you know, they'd come check up on me. And so during this time, though, I was also drinking in my life back then to kill the pain, because it would relax the nervous system at the time. I mean, it was briefly. But then I noticed I was an everyday drinker. Just a little bit of vodka every day, help numb the pain in my spine, because the doctors think I'm fucking crazy, and yada yada yada. So I became known as Charlene the Vodka Queen, you know, kind of deal. Whatever. But I always had to have it warm. I could never drink vodka in Coca-Cola or cold. It'd have to be straight up with some water after that, or in my tea or in my coffee. So I would hide it a lot of times, because I didn't like people knowing that I'm drinking a freaking morning shot just to kill the pain. So I just put a little bit in my coffee, and, you know, whatever. A lot of people didn't know. Some people knew. Some people could smell it. Some people didn't. Some people that really knew me, they'd be like, Shar, you know, sit down and have a little chat with me. Eventually, I gave it up September 4th, 2000. I said enough of this fucking bullshit. After my surgery, I no longer needed the alcohol to help numb the pain, so I said goodbye-bye. I had a few episodes with it after my house burnt down, and then I lost my cousin Stephen. Kind of got into a tumbleweed with the alcohol for a little bit, but gave it up. Now I only use alcohol to make tinctures and for my health and stuff. So kind of turn that whole bullshit around. But I'm going to go back to living in the house in the city in 1998, 99, 2000, all the way up to 2002. Lived in the city until I moved out here. But I noticed the harassment with the cops starting back, even at the other place that I lived across the street with the doctor. But it got more intense once I got my own place. They'd be constantly coming by because the music would be up too loud sometimes, but, you know, I'd turn it down and they'd get crazy and forget. And there's the friendly neighborhood cops once again. But after a while, the thing was is that just because I lived in the city doesn't mean that I didn't hold dogs. I got kind of crazy with it, had to go to court over my dogs a few times and stuff. I'd hold anywhere from 4 to 6 dogs in the city, and one of them was just a little one. Usually for protection, if I wanted to walk anywhere, I'd take a couple dogs with me. Stuff like this. For my own protection a lot of times, and friendship. I always love having the dogs, but I even had one that I'd brush her teeth. Her name was Powder. She passed away in my house out here. So the cops would always come by, harass me, especially about the dogs, because Powder's mom, Marlene, she was named Marlene. She had a little bit of coyote blood in her, with lab and husky, quite beautiful, black, long hair. But she would have a habit of at people that were either going to like be threatening towards me or threatening some kind of manner of threatening. And she saw the cops as threatening, so a few times, you know, because my doors, I'd keep them open. Sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, you fuckers. And I'd play this little game where I'd crank up all the fucking music, then turn out all the lights, and everybody in the house, I'd say, shut the fuck up, and I'd shut the music out and wait for the friendly neighborhood cops to arrive, because it was usually within half an hour to 45 minutes by the time I had this feeling, an ESP feeling, that, oh, neighbor, okay, so game is on, because they would always play these games with me, which now I know is gang stalking, but back then, you know, it just tripped me out and be like, what the fuck is this guy's problem, you know? So I pull something that maybe, you know, a little bit more spiteful, like go put bleach on their lawn because they want to fucking jack with me in one way or another by harassing me. Just always harassment. So then I started doing harassment back, like, fuck you, you know, way back. And anyway, so of course the cops are going to be involved when you live this kind of lifestyle, and are being gang stalked throughout your whole life. So there's this one incident that sticks out in my mind that, there's a few, but I'll stick with this one, is this group of people that my friend knew. She brought them over, and the one guy was dating this girl. I can't remember their names really so well, you know, like, it doesn't really matter, but, and the one guy, when his girlfriend was sleeping, I think it was shortly before I had my surgery or after my surgery, and I was starting to get healed, but I still needed my walker. And these people, the girl falls asleep, and the guy comes up from behind me and pulls my pants down, where, like, I'm pushing a fucking walker, and I can't even, like, you know, I can't, like, yeah. So I pull them back up, and I'm like, what's your fucking problem, goof, and stuff, you know? I was the kind of girl that kept, like, a crowbar in my fridge. I didn't fuck around, you know? So it's like, I'm vulnerable, and I got this girl sleeping that's supposed to be with this guy. So eventually, my other girlfriend who witnessed this, she calls the fucking cops. Of course, he splits. She's still sleeping. Can't really wake her. I don't remember. But the next thing you know is, of course, the fucking cops are involved now. And they come over, and instead of taking a statement from me, they burl their teeth like hamsters and say, "You better just stop." So obviously the guy that was like doing this was like a paid gang stalker, Jack. And, but at the time I just knew that it was some kind of criminal involvement. And obviously the cops use him because he's probably a puppet for the cops, But at the time, I'm going, wow, man. So I had those kinds of things continue to happen over and over and over. Just weird shit. But that one sticks out because he tried to rape, he did it not only to me, but to my other friend. So that's why she's like, well, we gotta call the cops. I'm like, so all this shit, but I remember the part stands out that the cop with his teeth burled up like a hamster at you, like, just stop. You gotta just stop. And so in 2002, and across the street too, was, now that I know, is this old man. He'd always walk back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in this big old mansion-like house, compared to my house that was across the street. And he's the only guy who lived there. He'd walk back and forth just to annoy me, hey? And cause problems, like, you should cut your grass. It was just cut, but there's like a couple dandelions or something. So I'd go out and eat them just to piss him off, Stuff like this, like a war going on around me. And anyway, so with this old man across the street, I believe he's a Freemason now. Now looking back at different hints. And, yeah. So moving out here. I move out here 2002, September 28th. That's a legal date I could legally be here. And, hauling stuff back and forth, back and forth. By the time the whole move was over, me and my son's dad, we married in 2003 on the property, but then had to split ties and go different ways because lifestyle changes and stuff. He's in the city. We still have a friendship communication. But the point is that back then it was him and he had his library job, and I had my art and stuff, and my back was getting better and all this kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, well, what can I do with myself now? Like now that I've healed through all this stuff. And I always had allergies too. I'm allergic to about 98% of the food. That's been documented with doctors since I was about 9. And so it doesn't matter what you eat, you're just always gonna be allergic. That's my life. And okay, so being out here, 2002, going into 2003 and 2004, I was noticing a pattern, which I did a video recently of this gang stalker following us home in a white van. I pulled over to let it go, and it, of course, went right up the road to the dead end where it was back in 2002 and 2003. And I get my husband, he'd be out in the trees and he could hear voices and he'd be freaking out, running from them, hey, and stuff. So I think he was getting hit by voice to skull out in the trees. I mean, he's not schizophrenic, so it was just too real. And stuff like this was going on that I believe kind of helped to separate us. Because other stalkers that I know now are stalkers, but I didn't know then because I'm fresh out here on the scene at the time. I'd always see these certain vehicles driving by and drive by a real slow red truck. This guy here in particular happens to be one that would come into my house, and he'd, I was told by other neighbors, tailgate them and bump their mirrors and go around them, trying to push them off in the ditch type of individual. But at the time, I didn't know who the hell, but I just noticed, we both kind of noticed that truck always drives by real slow, looking here and stuff. And then the white van thing became a pattern. We'd see this white van with tinted windows driving by, parked up the road, just sitting there, You know, we're thinking, I don't know, some kind of FBI van or some damn thing, you know, it's just too weird. So, whatever it is, that's the kind of hellos and when they started. I don't know, now my brain's on pause, let me just think here. Okay, so I was thinking of things too, like, the vehicle. I got a new vehicle. Well, to me it was new. It was still a 98. It's a 98 Chev green half-ton, a different one than I'm driving now. I have it parked at my folks because I think there was a bug put up in it due to a setup. That's a different story. Sidetracking, ding, ding, ding. Okay, so 2004, or no, yeah, 2003, 2004. It started happening even in 2002, but I wasn't really, I just thought maybe it was me, but the doors are those kind that you can just lock, and it'll lock the other guy's door too, or open it, you know, and automatic locks, automatic window things and stuff. Well, the automatic locks would be locking on their own. I'd be at the car wash. Even when Justin was first born, just a little dude, this is a car wash story. Me and my husband were still together. Justin's maybe, I don't know, 6-8 months old, something. And we're in the car wash. And vehicle's running because the child's in the back. You know, you get out to, I think one of us had to go in the store and the other one was going to wash the truck, and then the other one would come out and help the other, you know, pit stop kind of wash the truck. And well, of course, the doors lock, and my child is now locked inside, but luckily my brother happens to have a spare key, so we have to go through the hassle of, there was no real, like, big-time cell phones back then. So we had to go, one of us walk up to a payphone, call to get my brother to come with the spare key because my son is locked in the truck, with the truck running inside the car wash. Typical. Because these kinds of things have happened over and over now since, like, that was an initial shocker, like, oh wow, my child, and you know, you're just like, just kind of panicking as a parent and a first time parent and like all this shit. And then, so that's one that I can think of that stands out. And doors continue to lock, where you have to call for some guy with a lock thing, locksmith dude, you know, tow truck dude. Certain areas, you know, you just can't. One time I had to break my window to get in so I could get away. It is just so many things with the vehicle. Oh, another vehicle one is a few years back. Skipping around here, these are just random stories that are coming. But a few years back, I still had the green truck up and running. And it was parked out front before my dog's pen was built. So it was like right up front by the door where the dog's pen is now. Just like, that's their pen. I don't use that door unless you go out to the dog pen. And anyways, the truck was pulled up there, and I was having a fire. We were cooking fish down on the pit. The kind of marshmallow fish type of thing or something. And my son, he was like, I'm going to stay up all night and hang out until the sun comes up. And so we tried to do our best. And, you know, at the time it was summer, so the sun comes up a little earlier, about 3:30. And you're like, woohoo, I get to go to bed, or 4:30, something like this, right? So by the time the sun come up, call it a wrap, put the fire out. I had a couch in the laundry room, so because there's weird things going on and I'd sleep in different areas, weird spots, I'd make walls out of boxes of stuff that I put just to protect ourselves, because if I go into a deep sleep, you never know what's going to happen. And so I was already sensing weird shit going down. And on the way in from this fire, I have this couple tables outside, and there was a hammer out there. I must have been fixing something or something, but it was like a message coming, bring the hammer in. Your truck will get vandalized. So it was like, wow, man, my truck will get vandalized, bring the hammer in. Okay, whatever. So I go get the hammer, and I know that this is a synthetic type of incoming message. It was different. It wasn't like my own intuition. It was bring her, you know, it was different. I've had a few of those happen since then, but this was one of the first, or second or third or something that I was like, okay, this is happening again. It's not, you know. And so I bring the hammer in, but that didn't stop the bastards. I think they used a golf club that was hanging out in the yard. Another little weapon that I keep around just in case, because, I mean, being out here in the middle of nowhere, raising a little boy at the time, you know, and stuff. Now he's becoming a teenager, but he's still a little boy. You know, he's a big boy now, but, it was, okay, so going back to that, is that my truck was parked up front. I got this message, you know, bring in the hammer, you know, your truck will get vandalized. And so I went to sleep in the back, in the laundry room, where I had this couch and boxes stacked around the door over there and stuff. And when I woke at about 11:30 in the morning, I went and put my coffee on and thought, oh, I'll go stretch and look outside at the beauty of summer being here, and, you know, just have my morning coffee out in the rock garden. Yeah, I take one look at the passenger's window of my truck, set my coffee down, start freaking out because the window is completely smashed. Well, when I went to sleep earlier, when the sun was first coming up, it was fine. I had that incoming message, so of course I got tripped out about that. I did not call no cops over that shit. I did not go make because they wanted me to do this. I sensed they want me to, and then I thought there's more to it, and I didn't know what the hell to think. But the guy with the red truck, he comes involved with this part now. Okay, he's also a mechanic, and like can fix anything and pretty much do anything to your vehicle, because he's got the 5-year mechanic, blah blah blah, and he's also a backyard mechanic, and he's also a gang stalker. So over the truck thing, I decided I'm going to ask psychically for this person to show themselves. Let them be known. Who has done this unto me? Let yourself be known. In 5 days, I ask of you. You know, I did it this way. And what happened? Within 3 days, along comes that stalking asshole, the one that pushes people off the road, the guy with the red truck back in '02, and driving by slow, on and on and on. There's lots of stories with this character. Comes on over with this man who's driving a truck, and they have this old camper up on the truck. And the man that's driving has an eye patch, because he's blind in one eye, and his eye's all weird, so he doesn't want to show people his eye. Anyway, so he wears a black eye patch. I think I used to call him Pirate Man or something, you know, like, I kind of have recognized him from when my house burnt down, and you get to know some of the neighbors, you know. So, anyways, he comes by with that guy. I was in the bathroom when these two characters show up. I come up the hallway because I can hear my front door opening. And I know my kid at this point is at my mom and dad's hanging out, doing some summer activity and stuff, while I'm at home cleaning up, doing different things, like yard work and whatever. And because of the truck window, I sent him over there too, because this is getting fucking like too much. So I sent him over to my folks for a few days, have some summer activity. And because I'm waiting for this person to appear, like, I just know that when I put shit like that out there, a lot of times it comes back. So I'm running up the hall as this jack is opening my door, which there was no dog pen there, so anybody could use that door. And I don't lock my doors anymore because I had too many issues. Whatever. Instead of coming in through the chimney or, you know, just come on in. It's like that way back then. I got sick of it. Whatever. So, but I don't expect people to. My brother comes over, he knocks. My mom comes over, they knock, they know it's open. So this freaking stalking Jack opens the door. I come ripping up and over, and I push him. I says, you can't just come on in here. He happens to find a toad on the ground and tries to stick it down my shirt. Oh, I tripped out. I fucking pushed him around. I says, you cannot be touching me. That's sexual harassment, you son of a bitch, and shit like this. I get him to go back over to the guy in the truck with the eye patch. He sits in there, and of course, this person's an alcoholic, so he's been drinking. I think that's where he gets most of his balls from, is drinking and then being able to go and stalk and harass people. He'd always end up getting impaired tickets too, and never seemed to go to jail for them till shortly after this window situation. Okay, so he shows up. I know it's my verification. At this point, I put my truck in the garage. I got the doors closed, everything. And he starts asking, so, like, what vehicle you driving nowadays, sir? Still got the green truck? He used to steal it and take the pin out of it so it'll go like 200 miles an hour down the fucking back roads and harass people and shit. I didn't know that. It would just be taken while I was sleeping. He'd come over with his vehicle but take mine. You know, like, I caught on to that after a while, but I'd wonder, well, why is my gas always low, and, you know, stuff like this. So it has a cop engine in this beast, so it can go. So he comes in the house. I get him over to the truck. Okay, so now he's in the truck, but he starts asking me about, like, what vehicle you driving nowadays, sir? Still driving the green truck? Right away, I'm like, I ain't giving him that much, because I know that he's the one who broke the window. I think to myself, why would he break the window? So that he can be the big hero and offer to fix it so that he can do more setups on me and more gang stalking. I didn't allow it, and I told him I had a gray car that I was driving lately. I don't drive cars. But I said I was driving a gray car. Oh, where is it? Oh, my brother took it to go get gas. He'll be back shortly. You should get out of here before he comes. You know? I just came up with some fucking crap real quick trying to get these yard apes out of my yard. And they had this camping trailer, of course, hooked up onto the back of the truck. And he was claiming, I'm going to live in that now. I'm going to live in that now. Well, he's the same character that owned his parents' farm and then sold it, but still harasses the community, but doesn't live there anymore. Very bizarre. So, after the window situation happened, I heard from neighbors that, he finally went to jail for some of those DUIs that he's always getting. Oh, you mean he's had more than one? Oh, yeah, he's been getting them for years, but they never do anything. I didn't know about gang stalking back then, but I mean, now I do, and obvious. Well, that's very good information to have, you know, to share in this video, I do believe, because I'm sure it happens to thousands of you. Different stories, different people, different faces, different times, right? But, yeah. And this story about this character goes back to 2014 summer. Or 2014, I think. Yes. Because there was a lot of weird things manifesting. And it was just another weird one manifesting. Oh, and I should talk about, too, another Voice to Skull situation that took place. Is a bit of a weird one. So, in town, they have yearly garage sale days, usually in May long weekend, that type of thing. They'll advertise that the whole town, whoever wants to take part, can have stuff for garage sale type of stuff. And So my mom says, oh, how about I come and get you and Justin and we'll go to that garage sale thing, because she's never been, and she thought something that we could all do together, because, you know, sometimes we hit it up, sometimes we don't. So this year, yeah, let's do it, Mom. So we all go off to this garage sale thing in Delisle. And now looking back, I was getting signals and different weird activity going on with gang stalking shit back then that I just thought, I don't know, Mom, there's weird shit going down. This is like story of my life. And she's like, yeah, do you want to just go get lunch and call her quits, you know, kind of thing? I'm like, yeah, this is fucking bullshit, these people. So we made it a wrap. We had lunch. Then she took us back. And when we get back, I come in, put whatever stuff we got from the garage sale away and stuff. And then, because I didn't take my vehicle was actually parked outside during this. I didn't have it in the garage, so I don't think. Anyways, so my boy comes running in and says, Mom, the garage, the door is wide open, and it looks like there's stuff that's been stolen. My bike's gone, and all this stuff, and you should come see. So, my hair's just driving me nuts, it's all feathery. So, I go out and go see, and yeah, how convenient. So, now they want me to make a report, because I have insurance. But, you know, it's like $500 deductible down and a bunch of fucking bullshit and then yada, 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 yada. It's just a hassle. So, I'm like, and they want you to do, you know, all this shit that will involve calling the police or going and making a statement with them again, you know. I'm like, fuck around. I ain't doing it. No way. Fuck it. And I just wasn't going to do it. And, you know, my mom kind of convinced me, well, Charlene, you know, they took your garden tractor. They did take Justin's bike, and that was like, I don't know, I think it was $500-600 or $1,400. I can't remember. It was a high price, but I had gotten a good deal on it, you know. Instead of $1,400, pay $800 today, or I can't really remember. But my insurance people will have all that information. I just can't really remember offhand. So, of course, I was kind of like, okay, you got a point there with all that. So, I go make the claim. Lots of hassles went on there. So, did you make a police statement? No. Well, you gotta do that first before we will, do any insurance thing with you. Oh, okay, fine. So I go down, I make a police statement. I bring them the copy of the police statement with whatever else they needed for papers at the time. Then I get a call. Did you get the police statement? Yeah, I brought it in. You guys took it. You have it. Oh, no, we don't. Everything gets shredded within 24 hours if, you know, some bullshit about shredding shit within 24 hours. I'm going, so you want me to go get the statement again? So, okay, fine. I go into the local town. I go get the police statement once again. I get them to photocopy it. I bring it back to the insurance people. I give them that, whatever they needed, and then they jack my horse over and over and over for quite a while over some bullshit, and things kept going missing, you know, how convenient. It's just this, stuff like this always happens. There's lots of different stories. So these insurance people, you know, it's pretty obvious that compartmentalized groups like this all help each other out with their little computer file that they seem to have on you. Yeah. I think I'm sidetracking. I don't know if I finished telling that story now or not. Yeah, I think I did. I don't know. There's just so many things that they do, illegally to you. Okay, here's another one that comes to my mind. Being a single mom, raising my boy out in the middle of nowhere, with disability issues, because after the fire, I, had gone into these comatose-like sleeps, from the carbon monoxide and poisoning, giving me lots of infections in my body and shit. So I was going into like basically death zone, trying to pass away, but instead, I'd have 3 hours of awake time to accomplish anything in my life before it felt like drugged up again and pass out for another how many hours. So at this time of my life, it was quite difficult. Well, as I started to get better in 09, or end of 09, December 1st, 2009, is when I first went to see the man who started saving my life, a homeopathic doctor. Beautiful man. And in 2010, started getting better. 2011, took a few years of constant remedies. Like, even sometimes every 15 minutes, I would have a dose of my remedies to bring me back instead of going into a coma-like state and stuff. So it was a few years, and eventually I gotten where now if I go into a coma-like sleep, it's different. It's a different thing. I'm not dying anymore that way. So, now I'm mixing up my stories here. I lost my thought here. Okay, yes, so it was the coma-like sleeps that got me, but I was trying to discuss about a time when my furnace for the house, it was a diesel fuel ran heating system here. It started to go all the time and screw up to the point where it eventually that was it. And after talking to different companies about what's the best heating system to have out here, because I don't have natural gas, stuff like this, so they suggested propane. Okay, so how much to do that? You're looking at almost like 10 grand by the time the job's done. Well, that ain't gonna happen for me. So out comes the next 3 years of no heat in the house in minus 40, minus 50, minus 30, minus 28 weather conditions. So there's no way I'm going to have every room in the house open to try and heat. So no more bedroom for me, no more art room for me, no more even bathroom. We had to, if we wanted to go and have a shower, I had heat lamps that you'd use for the chicken house hung up in there to heat up the room a little bit. By the time the water would come out of the shower and hit your back, it was almost cold because it'd get down to about 58 degrees back there. Some days 52, it is brutally cold. We're putting heaters and like heat lamps hanging from the ceilings and trying to keep the pipes from freezing and shit like this. Sleeping in your winter gear, 10 pairs of socks on, 10 pairs of pants on, lots of blankets, like 10 blankets each, trying to stay warm, have the animals in around us more than, like, I don't usually have the cats, they have their own heated van out there, but, for a few of those years, I kept tarps up going down the hallway, and plastic over all the windows, over all the doors except for one that we would use to get in and out. It kept everything boarded off, and tarps, like walls, to just heat up the living room space. And when my boy, he was still going to school at the time, I now homeschool him, but at the time, when he'd get on the school bus, that was my time to sleep, because I no longer had to keep him warm overnight. So then I would go to sleep. When he'd get home, it was time for me to get up and start the shit all over again. And I went through months of, I remember I made 286 frickin' muffins in like 3 days to keep the house warm by constantly running the oven, because there was times where the space heater would be, melt or defunction or screw up and stuff like this. So no space heater for you. Plus I'm snowed in. I can't get out. I gotta wait for my brother to come get me so that I can get into town to get another space heater type of deal. So, yeah, and I, heard of, a friend told me, well, Shar, you can in your predicament, there is government help. They can help you. And I kind of laughed thinking, yeah, what kind of hassles will this be, right? Like, but I thought by year 2, I still can afford no 10 grand for no heat and get all this shit done. And I'm thinking, okay, another cold winter on our way. And so I think they called for me because they just thought you can't live out there in -50, -40 with a frickin' space heater and your oven running 24 hours a day or whatever you're doing, sir. So they got worried and concerned and called to set me up to have, like, not set me up, but set it up so that the government would get involved and trying to help get me a real home heating system. Well, that all ended up being one hell of a fucking show for gang stalkers to come into your house and piss around and then do the heating system bizarre, like over top of lights. They put the venting over top of lights and where a fan should be, and right over top of my fire alarm. It was an electric thing, fire alarm, and that one had been replaced 4 times over and over, and now I know it as being directed, energy weapons hitting your house and screwing shit up. But at the time I just thought, what the fuck, so go get a new one and spend the time for some jack to come out to your house to hook up a new one, because it was a carbon monoxide detector plus yada yada, and it was hooked up through the power, and it's not just one that you can put a battery in, and all is fine. So anyways, these people with the heating system go putting pipes, instead of putting them up and just vent, no, they go putting it looking like Star Trek in here, and over top of 2 lights, a fan, it would interfere if I went and put another fire detector, and it almost hits another light, so I built this thing out of nature around it to make it like whatever. And then living room area, it goes over top of where I used to have a chandelier, but at one time the light bulb wanted to catch fire. So I took all that down and there's no longer a light. And half the house needs to be rewired because the gang stalkers who did the work in the beginning did a real shitty job. Like, I'm telling you, only about half my house works for power. The other half is shut off at the breaker because it's a potential fire hazard. And that was also another thing that they looked into with this government program with getting the heat. Is that, we need to fix that, so we better get some more gang stalkers out here to jack with you and fuck around and everything in your house and continue and they take pictures and, it was just bizarre, and I thought, this is really getting weird. And I never really wanted their help to begin with, but out of the kindness of my friend's heart, they decided to try and help me with that, and just led into a bunch of crap, and nothing ever got done. It was 3 years. They put me on an emergency thing. It was on year 2. Or end of year 1, because winter was already over, but nothing was going on about it, and the second winter came, and the program was running, but nothing was ever happening. Like, people came out, did estimates, and any estimates that ever were done were never given to the people at the government program thing. So it was a cycle of trying to get somebody to even come this far out to do an estimate, to tell you how much this shit's going to cost, and yada yada, and this is how we'll do it. Well, eventually, by the 3rd year of no heat in the house, it's going to be 4th year soon, so let's do this for this bitch out in the middle of nowhere so we can all look like big heroes, and then have problems with this heating system that, still have to pay a certain amount, but the government pays the other amount, and yada yada, and it's all good. But of course they say, well, because the government helped, there's only a 1-month warranty on something. So my dad got pissed off at this one, calls them up, and then they give him a hard time, and then I told the company to go fuck themselves in the end. And so left with whatever. I hired someone else to do the job because the company that originally came in and made the house look like Star Trek on the inside with all the pipes hanging like it's like some kind of, workshop. I painted them all, or most of them, so that it doesn't look so Star Trek and silver and shit. It was just terrible. And the way they went over everything. And how I had agent gang stalkers that day in my hallway, wearing leather jackets, taking notes, but not talking, looking over. I thought, why does there have to be 5 people in the hallway, 2 outside, and 1 over here, fitting pipes and shit, all to do a 2-man job? It was like, let's bring on the whole crew today. Well, it ended up the next day, I had to go to the city. So they magically come into my house, and this is when Luke, my dog, was still alive before they shot him. He, like I said, I have a gate coming up my hallway, and they kept the dog in my bathroom with the door closed when I came home the next day, when they illegally entered my home to continue doing more work and put the gauge that says, what your temperature is. They did that kind of work that day. Yeah. And something to do with something else, whatever. But the thing that disturbed me is, why the hell was my dog locked in the bathroom when it should be on the other side of the gate with the other dogs at the other door? And these gang stalking perps doing the work are to use the other door, not my door where they're going to let out the dogs. So that told me that these bastards were in the house, came through that door. The one that I told them, just always go to the back, because that's where the heater is. You don't have to knock on this door. But no, they go to that door, they let my dog out, and then when they realized they let it out, they must have got it back in and locked it in the bathroom. Because that dog was tripping out when we got home. It was ready to just, whoa, 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 at the door in the bathroom. And I says, it's me, Luke, it's me. And he was still freaking out, and he's trying to tell me stories about stuff. And I says, yeah, hey boy, and stuff. He knew things, and he'd go around showing me stuff that they were jacking with. And so he's very intelligent. Hey, he would know how to open up cupboards to get whatever he wanted, He'd get at the top of the fridge where you keep the peanut butter, get that down, open it, eat all the peanut butter, or some of the peanut butter, most of it, and not chew up the lid and stuff, and just leave it straight up on the floor. He was a good break-in artist, that dog. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, the KKK members behind me, they put a bullet in him and came up with some gang stalking bullshit setup saying that all my dogs ran over. Yeah, whatever. I've told that story a lot of times. Because it goes back to these gang stalkers, too, that were in my house, helping me get heat in this house for once and for all after living like that for a few years. Yeah, I got a lot of stories spin-tailing around, but I think I'll just leave it there, and I don't know what else to mention. Maybe I could... Oh, I was painting this here. Just finishing some details in the faces. It's an older painting. I started it in 2014, but just a few things that... This type of image comes in different shapes and forms in a lot of my different paintings over the years. It's almost like a military cop, Iraq, something, I don't know what the hell, but this type of military police force. And I'm gonna just, I was inspired after working on this too, and listening to a couple other people talk about some of their situations, but I guess that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in.